The blue-white glow from the server stacks cast sharp shadows across Vincent's face as he hunched over his laptop. 3 a.m. in Amazon's primary Seattle data center, and the whispers had followed him here too. System failure imminent. System failure imminent. The voice hissed from somewhere behind the server rack. Vincent's fingers froze over the keyboard. "That's not a system alert," he muttered, pressing his palms against his temples. "There is no alert. The monitoring dashboard is green." But the voice persisted, joined by others now, overlapping in a cacophony that seemed to emanate from the blinking lights of the servers themselves. His phone buzzed again. Linda's 7th text in 2 hours. "You promised to be home by midnight. Are you okay?" Vincent couldn't answer. How could he explain that the reason he'd been working nights wasn't the server migration project, but because the voices were quieter here? At least they had been, until tonight. "You're failing them all," came a guttural whisper from the corner where nothing stood but a cooling unit. "The systems will crash, data will be lost, you'll be fired." "Shut up!" Vincent slammed his fist against the desk, sending his coffee tumbling. Dark liquid seeped between server cables. "Oh no, no. He scrambled for paper towels, hands shaking. The intercom crackled. "Everything okay in there, Mr. Meraki?" The night security guard's voice. Vincent straightened, attempting to steady his voice. "Yes, Dave. Just knocked over my coffee." "Want me to come help clean up?" "No," Vincent said too quickly. "I mean, I've got it under control." Under control. The phrase mocked him as he mopped up the spill. Nothing was under control. For 6 months he'd been spiraling ever since the promotion. The whispers had started as stray thoughts, easily dismissed as stress. Now they were distinct voices, cruel, mocking, increasingly demonic. His phone buzzed again. "I'm calling the security desk if you don't answer me." Vincent typed with trembling fingers. "Working. Critical issue. Home soon." "Liar," hissed a voice directly behind him. Vincent whirled around, finding only empty space. "She knows you're losing your mind." The security monitor showed empty hallways, but Vincent heard footsteps approaching, circling, though nothing appeared on screen. "You used to teach others," another voice sneered. "Now look at you." Vincent's Bible study group. He hadn't been in months. First it was the on-call schedule, then the promotion, then the fear of anyone seeing what was happening to him. His laptop screen flickered, lines of code suddenly rearranging themselves before his eyes. "That's not happening," Vincent whispered, clutching the edge of the desk. "It's not real." But which parts weren't real? The alerts now flooding his screen? The footsteps? The shadows moving at the edge of his vision? Vincent slid down against the server rack, pulling his knees to his chest. The cool metal against his back was the only solid thing he could trust. "I need to call Dr. Brenner," he whispered, fumbling for his phone. "Doctors can't help you," the voices chorused. "They'll lock you away, you'll lose everything." His finger hovered over the psychiatrist's number that Linda had programmed into his phone weeks ago when she'd first noticed something wrong. "I can handle this," Vincent told himself, even as tears streaked down his face. "I just need sleep, I need quiet." But there was no quiet anymore, only the voices, the humming servers, and the growing certainty that something fundamental had broken inside him, something no amount of debugging could fix. The server room hummed with the mechanical heartbeat of cooling fans and blinking lights. I sat cross-legged on the floor behind a rack of servers, my back pressed against the cold metal. The voices had followed me here, even to my sanctuary of circuits and code. "You're going to fail the system migration. Everyone will know you're broken," the loudest voice taunted. I pressed my palms against my ears. "Shut up, shut up, shut up." The server room door opened with a hydraulic hiss. I scrambled to my feet, almost knocking my head on the server rack. "Vincent." Elijah from the database team stepped in, his eyes scanning the dimly lit room before finding me. "You okay, man?" I heard talking. "Just rehearsing the migration steps," I lied, straightening my Amazon polo shirt. My hands trembled as I pretended to check connections. Elijah set his laptop down. "Migration's not for 3 days." "I like to be prepared." He studied me for a moment. "When's the last time you slept?" "I sleep fine," I snapped, though the dark circles under my eyes told a different story. "Look," Elijah said, pulling up a chair. "I don't usually share this, but something's telling me I should. 3 years ago, I had anxiety problems, started hearing voices. My fingers froze over a keyboard. The demons in my head suddenly went quiet, as if listening too. "What kind of voices?" I asked carefully. "Threatening ones, telling me I was worthless, that people were plotting against me." He looked directly at me. "Turned out I have schizophrenia." The word hung in the air between us. The diagnosis I'd been avoiding since the hospital visit I'd hidden from everyone, including Linda. "That must have been rough," I managed, my throat dry. "It was hell," Elijah said. I was self-medicating with energy drinks, hiding from my wife, faking stuff at work, thought I could handle it alone. One of the voices hissed, "He's trying to trap you, don't listen." "What changed?" I asked, ignoring the warning. "I found help. Real help. Medication, therapy, but also," he hesitated. "This sounds weird in a server room, but I found peace and faith. There's this verse about quiet waters." "He leads me beside quiet waters," I interrupted, surprising myself. My grandmother's voice echoed from childhood, reading her Bible. Elijah's eyes widened. "Yeah, exactly. Psalm 23. I used to lead Bible studies," I admitted. "Before," I gestured vaguely around my head. "The voices aren't spiritual guides, Vincent, they're symptoms." The demons roared in protest, but something about Elijah's words cut through them, a clarity I hadn't felt in months. "My wife's about to leave me," I whispered. "She found me talking to the wall last night." "Mine almost did too." Elijah pulled out his phone, showing me a picture of himself with a smiling woman. "Getting help doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're brave enough to admit you can't do this alone." For a moment, the server room seemed quieter. Not silent. The voices were still there, but somehow less overwhelming, as if someone had turned down their volume. "I don't know if I can go back to believing," I said. "I'm not asking you to believe anything right now," Elijah replied. "I'm just suggesting that maybe, like those servers, your mind needs maintenance too." He wrote a number on a sticky note. "My doctor. He understands tech people, won't judge you." As I took the note, our eyes met, and for the first time in months, I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. The fluorescent lights of the psychiatric ward's intake room hummed above me, their relentless buzzing competing with the darker voices in my head. I gripped the plastic chair's armrests, my knuckles white. Across from me, Dr. Elaine Olio reviewed my paperwork while Linda sat beside me, her hand resting gently on my forearm. "I can't do this," I whispered, my voice barely audible. The voices were screaming now, telling me to run, that they'd trap me here forever, that I was betraying them. Linda squeezed my arm. "Vincent, please, we talked about this." I shook my head, feeling sweat beading on my forehead. "They're telling me not to. They're saying I'll never leave if I stay." Dr. Olio looked up, her eyes kind but direct. "Vincent, who's telling you this?" I hesitated, ashamed. How could I explain to this stranger that demonic voices had taken residence in my mind? That the IT specialist who troubleshot complex network issues for Amazon couldn't debug his own brain? "The voices," I finally admitted, staring at the floor. "They've been with me for months now. At first I thought it was stress, or maybe someone's radio I was picking up somehow. But they know things. They talk to me. About me." I swallowed hard. "They tell me to hurt myself sometimes." Dr. Olio nodded without judgment. "Thank you for telling me. That took courage." Linda's eyes welled with tears. "He used to lead Bible studies, you know? We met at church, but he hasn't opened his Bible in over a year. It doesn't work anymore," I muttered. "Nothing works. I've tried everything. Self-help books, meditation, working harder, drinking less, drinking more." I let out a bitter laugh. "I even tried praying again last week, but the voices just mocked me." "Vincent." Dr. Olio leaned forward. "What you're experiencing has a name. It's called schizophrenia. It's a medical condition, not a moral failing. And we can help you." The word hung in the air between us. Schizophrenia. It sounded both terrifying and strangely relieving. A name for the nightmare. "I can't even get up by myself anymore," I whispered. "Every morning, I wake up and it's like I'm stuck on my back, like something's holding me down." Pastor Jameson, who'd been quietly sitting in the corner at Linda's request, finally spoke. "You know, Vincent, that reminds me of something called a cast sheep." I looked up, confused. "Sheep sometimes roll over and get stuck on their backs. They can't get up without help. The shepherd has to come to them and set them upright again." He moved his chair closer. "The sheep doesn't need to understand what's happening. It just needs to let the shepherd help." Something in his words pierced through the noise in my head. I'd spent months trying to fix myself, to understand what was happening, to regain control. "I don't know how to let go," I admitted, tears finally breaking free. "I'm so tired of fighting." Pastor Jameson reached out slowly, his hand hovering near mine. "May I pray with you, Vincent?" I nodded, suddenly desperate for something, anything, beyond the chaos in my mind. "Lord," he began quietly, "Vincent is caught on his back right now. The voices around him are loud, but we know your voice is truer. Lead him beside quiet waters, restore his soul." As he prayed, something shifted. Not dramatically, not completely, but enough. A small space of quiet opened up in my mind, like a single deep breath after nearly drowning. "Thank you," I said when he finished. "I don't understand where this leads, but I can't stay like this." Dr. Olio smiled gently. "That's all you need to do today. Just this one step." I signed the admission papers with a trembling hand, feeling like a sheep being led into unknown pasture, terrified but following anyway, because staying lost was no longer an option. The hospital common room wasn't quiet. A man in the corner muttered conspiracy theories to himself while another paced relentlessly. The TV blared a game show nobody watched. My hands trembled as I stared at the blank puzzle table in front of me. 3 weeks into my stay at Overlake Behavioral Health, and the voices hadn't stopped. They'd only gotten quieter under the medication, like background processes still running, draining system resources. Mind if I join you? Dr. Levine placed a cardboard box on the table. Thought you might like this one. I glanced at the puzzle box, a landscape of flowing water beside green meadows. Sure, I said, not looking up, not like I have admin privileges to refuse. Dr. Levine smiled gently and sat down. How's the new medication working? Voices are at about 40% volume. Still there, but I dumped the puzzle pieces between us. I can function at minimal capacity. That's progress. I sorted edge pieces mechanically. Linda's coming today. You sound worried about that. My fingers fumbled with a puzzle piece. Last time she was here, I couldn't even look at her. She brought our Bible study materials. I just couldn't. The voices whispered that I was broken beyond repair, a corrupted file, unrecoverable. Dr. Levine helped sort blue sky pieces. Vincent, do you remember when we talked about finding moments of peace? Like islands in the storm? I nodded, connecting two edge pieces. I want you to try something today with Linda. When she comes, just sit together by the garden window. Don't try to talk about the big things, just be present. System resources insufficient, I muttered. You don't need to run all programs at once, Dr. Levine said, speaking my language. Just one small application. When Linda arrived, her smile was tentative. She wore the blue sweater I'd given her last Christmas, and her hair was pulled back simply, not trying too hard. I appreciated that. Hey, she said. Hey. We sat by the large window overlooking the small garden as Dr. Levine had suggested. Rain fell softly, creating ripples in the small pond. For several minutes, we didn't speak. Dr. Levine said you're doing better with the new medication, Linda finally said. I nodded. The voices are quieter. Not gone, but she reached for my hand, hesitated, then completed the connection. Her hand was warm. I didn't bring the study materials this time, she said. Just me. Something loosened in my chest. That's good. I can't be that guy right now. I know, she squeezed my hand. I'm not asking you to be. We watched the rain together. A strange peace settled over me. Not complete silence, but like when you finally close unnecessary browser tabs and your computer stops overheating. I've been thinking about Psalm 23, Linda said softly, not studying it, just letting it be there. I tensed slightly. Scripture had become tangled with the voices. There's this part, she continued, about quiet waters, not still waters necessarily, just quiet. She looked at the rain-dappled pond, like that. I followed her gaze. The rain created gentle movements across the surface. He leads me beside quiet waters, I whispered, surprised the words didn't trigger the voices to scream. Yeah, she said, not stopping the rain, just finding the quiet in it. For the first time in months, I felt something like rest. Not happiness, not healing. Just a small space where I could breathe. I don't know if I'll ever be fixed, I admitted. Linda's thumb traced circles on my hand. Maybe it's not about being fixed. Maybe it's about being led. One step at a time. We sat there as afternoon shadows lengthened across the garden. The voices remained, but somehow they weren't the loudest thing anymore, like background noise while something more important happened in the foreground. That night, I slept for 6 uninterrupted hours, the first time since the voices began. When I woke, the chaos wasn't gone, but something new had appeared alongside it. A quiet place, a green pasture, room to breathe, room to begin again. The amber glow of sunset filtered through the community center windows as I arranged chairs in a circle. 6 months since my diagnosis, and here I was, starting a support group for tech workers with mental health challenges. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed, a text from Linda. So proud of you. Call me after the meeting. Love you. I smiled, remembering how close we'd come to losing everything. Now we had date nights again. Real conversations. A marriage slowly healing. The door creaked open. Brian, a young developer I'd met through my psychiatrist, shuffled in. Dark circles framed his eyes, and his fingers trembled slightly as he clutched his coffee cup. Hey, he mumbled, taking a seat. Not sure why I'm here. I recognized that look. I'd worn it myself not long ago. You don't have to talk tonight. Just listen, I said, setting out water bottles. First meetings are hard. I keep hearing things, Brian whispered, his voice barely audible. At work, at home, my code's suffering. My team thinks I'm losing it. I paused, feeling the familiar tightness in my chest. The voices had diminished with medication and therapy, but they weren't completely gone. Some days were still battles. I thought I was possessed, I admitted, sitting across from him. Demons, actually. I was leading a Bible study when it started. Brian looked up, surprised. You're religious? I have a relationship with a shepherd, I said carefully. When the voices were loudest, when I couldn't tell what was real anymore, he led me to quiet waters. Sounds nice, Brian said, skepticism evident. My mind feels like static all the time. 3 more people filtered in, and we began our meeting. I shared parts of my journey, the diagnosis, the medication adjustments, how I'd transferred from warehouse IT to a less stressful position, how I'd learned to distinguish between my thoughts and the illness. Afterward, Brian lingered. You seem functional, he said. I can't imagine getting there. I pulled out my phone and showed him my daily tracker app, mood, medication, sleep patterns, and a section for Bible verses that brought peace. See this? I pointed to yesterday's entry. 3 anxiety attacks in one day. I'm not cured, Brian. I just have a different relationship with my illness now. What changed? He asked. I considered my answer carefully. I stopped running from the diagnosis, and I stopped trying to face it alone. Brian nodded slowly. My dad thinks I should just push through it, man up. My wife thought I needed to pray harder, I replied. Both approaches nearly destroyed me. Outside, the streetlights flickered on. I locked the community center door behind us. The psychiatrist, the medication, the therapy, they're all tools, I explained as we walked to the parking lot, but learning to hear Jesus' voice among all the noise, that's what saved me. I don't have that, Brian said. You have people who understand, I replied. That's a start. As Brian drove away, I stood for a moment in the cool evening air. The voices might whisper again tonight, my medication might need adjustment next month. The journey wasn't over, but I knew something now that I hadn't before. Jesus wasn't just for the green pastures. He was for the dark valleys too, and I would dwell in his house, his presence, no matter where the path led. I pulled out my phone to call Linda, looking up at the stars appearing one by one in the darkening sky. The night wasn't something to fear anymore. It was just another place to follow my shepherd.